on Zoom, right? All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Muskegon Rotary. Joan, you must have filled in for Jane on greeting. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. It's good to see everybody today. I am going to start out with a quote, and it's Pride Month, so I wanted to provide a quote related to that. Quote, "Equality means more than just passing laws. The struggle is really won in the hearts and minds of community where it really counts." Barbara Giddings. And with that, we are going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. So please unmute and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And I cannot wait until we're doing that in person because it sounds horrible on Zoom. Let's just admit it, right?
When's that going to be?
The reflection will be given by Eric Seifert today. Eric, are you with us?
I believe I am with you. Thank you. Lord of the universe, you've given most of mankind a strong desire to do good, to be honest, to serve others, and to faithfully fulfill their obligations to their neighbors. Help us as Rotarians and humans to do good. Help us as Rotarians and humans to be honest and ethical in all our dealings. Help us as Rotarians and humans to serve others. And help us as Rotarians and humans to faithfully fulfill our obligations as neighbors to our community, our nation, and the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Eric, so much. Appreciate those thoughtful words. Birthdays this week, we've got 3 of them on June 15, Robert Landman, James Roush, and Dick Witham, and Ari Demerjian on the 16th. So happy birthday to those club members. Hope it's a good one. Announcements this week. Rewind does not meet tonight, but they'll be meeting next week, June 17, at Wonderland Distillery. Also, Seaway Run is coming up. It's going to be in person. It's going to be great. You have until the 14th to sign up, and I'd encourage whether you're a runner or a walker to do so. Also, our club coordinator, Kim Boersma, is looking for volunteers for aid stations, or spirit stations, we're calling them this year. So please contact Kim if you're able to volunteer. Also, as I mentioned last week, it's time for a new directory, and Kim is working on that. So please update any changes in your profiles on Club Runner, or she's happy to make those changes for you if you just want to send her an email. And Kim, maybe if you can just put your email address in the chat, that'd be great. Doug Wood. Doug, are you with us? I believe you have a report.
Well, I have a couple of announcements. I would like to,
Sure. From
the DE&I committee, I'd like to invite members of Rotary to become part of the Peace Builders effort that the club is embarking upon. The board this week approved the idea that we pursue the designation of being a Peace Builder club, joining hundreds of other clubs around the world who are doing this. And DE&I will be taking on that effort. So if you're at all interested in promoting peace in Muskegon and beyond, please let me know. If you're not part of the DE&I committee, you're certainly welcome to join the Peace Builder part of it. I also have an announcement from the membership side of things. For you Red Star new members and mentors along with them, Jason Piasecki and Revel will be hosting a happy hour on June 21st from 5 to 6. If you want to get a chance to take a look at their operation and learn a little bit about Revel, but also hear what his vision is for the upcoming year. Red Star new members and their mentors are invited June 21st from 5 to 6 p.m. Is that okay, Mark?
That's great. Thanks so much, Doug. And we'll have more information coming on the Peace Builders. It's a great, very cool Rotary program. I think it's very timely. You've heard me talk about my desire to improve the public discourse in our community and our country. So that's a great means to do that. So look forward to more information. Arn Bozar, we had a food truck event last week. Would you like to report on that?
Sure. Good morning, Mark and everyone. We did have another successful food truck event last Saturday morning up in Whitehall, serving the Whitehall Montague communities. This was one of the joint food trucks jointly handled by both the Muskegon and Whitehall Montague Rotary clubs. We had a good turnout of volunteers. We had about a dozen Rotarians on hand and a number of community volunteers. We served about 70 households with the food truck. And I think it's noteworthy to mention that the event was a collaboration that involved 2 Rotary clubs. The facility was provided by White Lake Congregational United Church in Christ, some of their volunteers, and then the Arby's restaurant up in Whitehall provided some helpful materials, as well as their manager who serves as coordinator for the truck up there. And of course, Feeding America, which brought in the actual fresh food from their Grand Rapids facility. So good event and nice community joint effort to make sure that some families in need got taken care of. I might also mention that the next food truck, it's a little ways out now, but we will have a food truck again on July 27 in Muskegon Heights. That's a Wednesday. And then in August, we'll be back up in Whitehall. But for those of you who might be interested, think about July 27 and shoot me a message or let me know if you're interested in participating in that one. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Arn. Thanks for your efforts and appreciate the volunteerism of our Rotary members and the food trucks. Any other reports? All right. Hearing none. You would think after a year I would know my agenda, but I completely glossed over visiting Rotarians and guests.
Right.
And Nancy Crandall is shaking her head. Yes, I know you did
Yes.
that. So
I do. Well,
Nancy, do you have a guest?
I have a guest. Yes.
Awesome.
Once again, joining us is Cody Chipman, who is on his lunch break from work and tuning in. Cody will be joining Rotary. The process has begun, and he signed up for the Seaway Run.
Awesome. Let's give a round of applause for Cody. Cody, I have to ask you this. Is it Cody or is it Chip? What's your preference? You're going to be a member. We need to know.
I typically go by Chip, but yeah, Cody's my
Awesome.
legal name. Yeah.
Well, welcome, Chip. And yesterday we had a board meeting and we considered your application and you've been approved. You have a couple more hoops to jump through and we'll be inducting you soon. So look forward to that.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
You bet. All right. Any other visitors, visiting Rotarians or guests?
I am a guest today still. My membership is pending, but technically a guest still.
All right. Thank you, Maggie, and welcome. Maggie, you were also on yesterday's agenda, so the board's approved you and we'll be inducting you soon as well. So thanks for joining us.
I think I'm also considered still a guest, so happy
Are
to
you,
be here.
Christy?
I don't know.
You're a transfer,
she
so
is not.
Jenny, help us out here, Jenny.
I mean, she is a Rotarian. She has just seen fit to join our great club.
Awesome. So Christy, welcome. I don't get to induct you because you don't need to be inducted. You are a Rotarian, you're a transfer, so.
Okay. All right. Learning the process. So thank you.
Yeah, right.
Happy to be here though. Thank you.
You bet. All right. Any others? All right, hearing none, I want to give kudos today. So, but first I have a question. Who in the club, and you can raise your hand, knew that member Ed Hendrickson handmade violins? Who knew that? Was I in the dark on that? I'm seeing hands go up. I had no idea. So I have gotten texts and emails about his very generous donation of 75 handmade violins to Muskegon Public Schools. So let's give Ed a round of applause. It was on ZZM, so if you haven't seen that story, check it out on their website. And I know I saw a lot of club members Facebooking it as well and sharing that story, which I did as well. So Ed, thanks so much for your service above self for the school system and the community. That's just fantastic. And I don't know, maybe we need a program from Ed at some point on how to make a violin. I mean, where do you start, right?
You know, in addition to making violins, he is a clock doctor. In fact, his handle is Clock Doc, so, and lots of years of experience repairing clocks.
The story touched on that as well. Aslan?
Oh, good.
Well, you know, Ed is so quiet and unassuming. I just love him dearly. And let me say this, I know he may not want to speak. I know we were talking about this, you know, the whole thing with the violins and all that. And someone asked for Ed to say a few words, and I think he unmuted. But then I went like that because I thought, well, let's wait till the whole club gets together because we may only get this one time from Ed. So can we hear from Ed for a minute, just a minute? I know it's out of order.
Oh, you're fine, Ed.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
You bet, Aslan. Ed, I know you're with us. Don't be shy.
Hold on a minute.
Oh, no. Yeah, okay.
Am I there?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. It was my pleasure to be able to give a few violins to some worthy students. Joan Smith was looking for instruments, and I said, okay, I got some. And then she said it was for Muskegon Heights, and they were only looking for brass instruments. And I said, I don't have any brass instruments, but I got some wooden instruments. And so she sorted around and found somebody at Muskegon High School that was looking for violins. And I said, that's right up my alley. I got a bunch of them sitting on the shelf and making no music. So
Awesome.
It was my pleasure to do that. And I hope that someday we can hear some music coming out of those things.
Fantastic, Ed. Thanks so much. Let's give Ed another round of applause.
Thanks for the good words.
By the way, Mark,
yes, Alan.
Ed did a program several years ago, and he was fantastic. And I hope the program committee will consider having him come back and do the same type of thing.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. So moving on, I know Kathy Moore is with us. Kathy, do you have a report, a COVID-19 report, and are we out of the woods yet?
I would say we're on the edge of the woods. COVID is not going away, but our stats are looking really good. I did share the presentation. Thank you, Kim. So this is, again, a chart of our COVID-19 positive cases from the beginning of time, which is March 2020 to current. And we are now under the 5%. So next. As recorded on the state's database today, and this only goes through June 6th, Muskegon County's positivity rate is 3.9%, and the number of cases per million, 35.4, Of course, we don't have 1 million people in Muskegon County, so the number of cases per 100,000, 3.5. And so we have, we're more in line now with the rest of our counties in the West Michigan region. Next. This is breakthrough cases, and breakthrough cases are to be expected. We have to say that. We have recorded 130 confirmed, 19 probable cases where individuals were fully vaccinated and later diagnosed with COVID-19. Of those 149, 6 have died. And over on the right, the breakthrough cases percentage, and this is the whole 149, of the 69,174 Muskegon County residents who are fully vaccinated, 0.002154 are breakthrough cases. And if we recall, that's to be expected when the manufacturers of the vaccine, conducted their research. The efficacy for most were in the 90 percentiles. Next. Hospitalizations statewide, 4.2%. The Grand Rapids region, which includes Muskegon County, 6.4%. That gap is becoming smaller. The number of cases, we would still like to see that number down, below the teens. And we do expect to see that happen because the community rates are going down. We expect to see the hospitalization rates and deaths go down, but we have to remember that the hospitalized cases are more severe, so they will last longer than most of our community cases. Next. This is total deaths to date. We did record, I believe, 4 additional deaths since I last reported last week. Total 355. Again, this is from the beginning, March 2020. Next. Vaccination coverage continues to increase in small increments, fractions of a percentage per day. We have 55% of Muskegon County residents that has received at least the initial. We're at exactly 50% that's fully vaccinated. And this does not include ages 12 through 15 in the denominator. And I've recorded that on the side here. 18.6% of those eligible youth have been received at least their first dose. Next. Just a reminder, the MDHHS relaxing the orders effective June 1st, no longer capacity limits outdoors, no limits at residential gatherings, indoors establishments at 50%, face masks still required for non-vaccinated individuals, and each venue now, and sometimes this event organizer, so if there's something at Heritage Landing between the venue owner and the event organizer, they would regulate the social gatherings information. And then just, testing is still available, vaccines are still available. So I just recorded some links for those. And I believe that's it. Let's go next. Yep, we just thank you to our many community outreach partners as it relates to vaccinations in the community, grassroots outreach. And I added a new slide with some business partners, if we could look at that. And they've actually been very instrumental in helping us schedule and vaccinate employees in our jurisdiction. So that concludes my report, Mark.
All right, Kathy, thanks so much. Appreciate all the work you've done this past year. Hopefully we will get to a point where you won't have to report every
Absolutely. I think by July, maybe next month. I don't know, but we'll see.
All right. Well, it feels like we're turning a corner, and hopefully we can keep those vaccination rates increasing. I know 70% is ideal, so
Yes.
we'll see. And are you able to stay for a breakout after the meeting?
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
All right, Christine Robert is with us. Christine, do you have a report for us?
Yeah, just I think I had a lot of meetings with agencies this week, and I guess so as we look at recovery and some of the needs, one of the things that I'm really fully aware of is it's been a long, hard year, and the safety net really pulled together. I think Kathy would agree with me and was there to support all the agencies that both the public and private nonprofit agencies really were there to help through the pandemic, but there's a lot of tiredness, I think maybe, but the best, people have been through the mill, and a lot of that, I think when I go out and talk to the businesses, I hear that they've had a hard time hiring people. Well, nonprofits have had the same issue. People have been out for a variety of reasons, early retirements, you name it, all the same reasons that our businesses have a hard time with staffing are the same issues that all of our nonprofits are facing. And so really have a strong concern about, wanted to share with you today, staffing shortages, funding shortages, and being able to make the turn, because the pandemic is not over, it's reduced. Our numbers are down, but there's still needs in the community that need to be served, and perhaps the mental health needs are probably rising in some of the greatest. So just wanted to put that on our plate to be thinking about what more we can do to assist our nonprofit community as we're turning this corner, to make sure that they have the staff that they need, that they're able, as we hear businesses trying to compete with the wages that are needed to get people to work. Some of our agencies are regulated in how much they can pay. I know that that those are some of the issues that we'll have to face. I know that we've talked in the past about some of the housing issues, and being able to even build more housing requires some changes in regulations at the local level. A willingness in municipalities to allow the building of multi-unit housing complexes. So I throw that out there because I think we need to be thinking, we are turning the corner, and we've got these big issues as a community that we're faced with. And many of you sit on community committee boards or are in influential positions and can be a voice for helping as these issues come up. And I think there's a lot more development of some materials that will help explain the situation better, so that we can be out in the community really telling this story, because I think right now there's a lot of money coming into the community. I guess that's one of the things I want to be sure everyone's aware of. There's a need for housing, and there's a need for staffing and increased wages at the nonprofit agencies as well. And it's been long overdue that that's happened, and it's to all of us who have employees or neighbors or friends that we don't even know that are faced with some of these challenges. We want to make sure that the safety net is there to support them. So just keep that in mind. And if you want to talk more about how you can help, whether it be a voice or a partner in helping with that effort, please reach out to me. And on that note, some good things. One good thing I wanted to share with you. So we have announced Day of Caring for United Way's in the community is September 10th. For those who don't know, United Way annually does a Day of Caring to kick off the caring season of the United Way campaign, and it's always on a Friday. And we do projects throughout the community where volunteers assist, and Rotary usually has a sizable team of volunteers. So just wanted to let you know that not only save that date, but also we're looking for projects. So we've talked to the agencies to solicit projects, communities, if there's a project that they need help with, but also individuals that might need some additional help. So if you have some ideas there, you can reach out to United Way on that as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. Thanks so much for all you do and United Way does for the community, especially at this time. With that, before our program, we have a new member induction. So I'm going to call on Jim Fisher to do that introduction. Jim?
Thank you, President Mark. And I have the pleasure today of introducing Donata Kidd, who I've known for a number of years through my role with the Department of Health and Human Services Board. So Donata, wave your hand so everybody can see you. So Donata Kidd is a native of Muskegon County and continues to live in Muskegon. She graduated from Muskegon High School, went through Muskegon Public Schools. She's been employed with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for more than 2 decades, beginning her career as an eligibility specialist in Kent County before being transferred to Muskegon County in 2002. She's been here most of the last 19 years, other than a very short stint in Kent County before returning to Muskegon and eventually being appointed the interim director a year ago. And as of January is the official director of the Muskegon County Department of Health and Human Services. So Donata has a degree from Baker College, and she has a degree in business administration. She's also a veteran of the United States Army. And prior to being involved with DHHS, she also worked in the private sector, working for both Sun Chemical Corporation and the Kadon Corporation Bearing Division. So Donata is married for the last 10 years. She has an extended family. She has 2 adult sons. One of her sons is following her service in the military, and he's in the Air Force. The other son is working in manufacturing in Holland. She also, through her marriage, has 4 other adult children and 7 grandchildren. Donata is very involved in Christian education, is very involved in Bethesda Baptist Church. Not only has she been a longtime Sunday school teacher, she's currently the Sunday school superintendent and is an ordained deaconess with Bethesda Baptist. In addition to that busy life, she also finds some time to be a walker. And Donata, there's still time to register for the Seaway Run, since you practice on an ongoing basis, and she's an avid reader. I have to say, it's just an absolute pleasure working with Donata. Our board, and I have to tell you, our board, which includes Aslan Scott and Pat Wallstrom, and the 3 of us were involved with the selection of the new director, and we were all ecstatic and tickled that Donata became the official director and is doing an absolutely great job. I mean, if you track back to her appointment as the interim through most of COVID, she has navigated and led Muskegon County DHHS through some challenging waters, and our numbers have only increased. Our unduplicated numbers are now around 65,000 for the county. So it's pretty significant, and there are over 200 employees with DHHS. And I've encouraged Donata to work with the program committee, perhaps in the early fall, to do a program. So welcome, Donata Kidd, to Muskegon Rotary. I'm excited to introduce you, and we're excited to have you. President Mark, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jim. Fellow Rotarians and honored guests, the Rotary Club of Muskegon is privileged to induct a new member. Donata, you are beginning, excuse me, a great adventure in leadership, friendship, and service to community and humanity. The Rotary Club of Muskegon has accepted you as a person of good character and high ethical standards with a heart for service. Your sponsor, Jim, has invited you to be a part of a worldwide organization dedicated to fostering service above self. It's through your own actions that you become a Rotarian. We encourage you to learn more about Rotary by actively participating in the club, including attending meetings, social events, and service projects. And it will be my pleasure when I see you in person soon to give you this pin by which your fellow Rotarians in the community will recognize you as a member. We ask that you wear it proudly. We would also challenge you to share the gift that has been given to you and invite another person with like qualities of character, reputation, and commitment to join our club in the coming months. The honor of becoming a Rotarian is only surpassed by sponsoring new members. Nada, do you accept this challenge?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Together as Rotarians, we work to enrich youth, ensure health, develop communities, and promote peace. So please join me in welcoming the newest Rotarian in the world, Nada Kid. Nada, thanks so much for joining us. I'm so impressed with your experience and education, and we're certainly blessed to have you as a member, and we look forward to getting to know you better.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we are going to move on to our program. We have a good one today, and I'm going to call on Dave Alexander to kick us off. Dave?
Thank you, President Mark. Welcome, Rotarians. Good to be with you this afternoon, and we're going to talk about drinking. I think a number of us are comfortable with that topic. So I always say we do like to drink here in Muskegon, and hopefully it is not to excess, but it is to enjoyment. And we think 20 years ago, we'd be drinking Buds or Millers or a Bacardi or a Seagram's. Today, craft beverages have sort of taken over our community, our retail baskets, and much of our social life in terms of gatherings in places here around Muskegon. We've got three representatives of the craft beverage industry here in Muskegon County. We have Alan Serio from Wonderland Distillery. We have Josh Rake from the Rake Beer Project, and we have Joel Camp, who I believe has talked to us before, from Pigeon Hill Brewing. It's a multi-generational movement, not only here in Muskegon, but across the country and across Michigan. Just a little bit of background. In 2019, craft beverages in Michigan from the Brewers Association showed that there was 21,596 employees. This is pre-COVID in this industry. That payroll was nearly $1 billion. It's $914 million payroll. And the average pay per employee was $42,362. So that is moving towards, obviously, a living wage, we would hope. Overall economic impact in our state, according to the Brewers Association, was $2.5 billion. And that in that year, 2019, put Michigan as number 10 in the nation as it relates to craft beverages. I'd like each of our panelists to introduce themselves for 2 or 3 minutes, just to let you know how they became involved in the craft industry, where they came from, and how the business that they are representing is doing right now, and tell you a little bit about that. So if we could start with Alan from Wonderland, get us kicked off, sir.
Thanks, Dave, for the intro. It's an exciting time to be here and be talking about craft beverage again. So my name's Alan Serio. I'm the owner of Wonderland Distilling Company. We opened our doors in October of 20, and we've been dealing with COVID since, but we're thriving even in this environment. We've been working on this project since 2018. Prior to this project, I've been in the food and beverage industry almost my whole life in the vendor channel. And I spent the last 10 years of that primarily focusing on just the craft beverage industry. So from the early 2000s, I had a front row seat to seeing the the boom of craft beer in Michigan and why Michigan became the great beer state that it is. And some friends that are on this panel today, Josh and Joel, we're going to tell some really great stories and give you an idea of what it's really like to be in the craft beverage industry here in Muskegon. So thank you. I look forward to answering some questions and telling our stories.
Very good. Why don't we let Joel go? Pigeon Hill, one of the more well-known beverage brands statewide, as we see them in our stores. Joel, why don't you tell me how you got from being a CPA to being into the brewing business, and sort of how you got there and what Pigeon Hill's all about. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk in front of you guys again here. You know, it's one of those things, like when you're going through tax seasons, you need a little bit of beverages to help get you through those things. So that's not really the reason, but yeah, I've always been interested in business. I went to college for business, ended up in public accounting. Just fell in love with the craft beer industry while I was working in public accounting. And then, you know, I met some other people in the homebrew clubs and kind of started forming a team, and we went for it. We opened in 2014. We started working on our project in like 2012 and finally opened up in downtown in 2014. There was not a whole lot going on downtown in 2014. So it was a heck of a risk for us. So, yeah.
Describe, if you would, a little bit, Joel, the business today, sort of the scope of what you guys do.
Yep. So we just built our production facility on 4th Street on Shoreline Drive here. We do canning of many of our brands, and we distribute throughout the state of Michigan, all the way up to the UP. We sell a lot of beer up in the UP. And we just opened up Central Florida, all the way down to Miami. So we do just some distribution down there. You know, through COVID, our keg sales for distribution kind of went downhill a little bit. And that now that places are opening back up, it's coming right back. So we do a little bit of work with spirits. We have, like, in our tap room, we have a little draft cocktail. We do a little work with wine too, just to give some other options on our retail channel.
Very good. Josh, one of the, like Wonderland, more recent entrants into the craft industry, craft beverages here in Muskegon County. Why don't you introduce yourself and the Rake Beer Project?
Sorry about that. I think I was muted there.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Awesome. Sorry. Yeah, I'm Josh Rake, owner, head brewer here at Rake Beer Project. We've been open since late 2019, so most of our experience as a business has been during COVID times. As we've kind of gotten towards summer and things have sort of normalized, it's been really nice to sort of see what, you know, a regular little bit of business is like for us here. I'm born and raised in Muskegon, worked around the state at a bunch of different breweries for about 6-7 years before opening this place. Always wanted to come back to Muskegon and kind of follow in the footsteps of what Pigeon Hill did downtown, as far as, you know, as far as contributing to the growth and rehab of downtown. And so we came back, and it's been a big, huge learning curve for us, especially during COVID. But we've been able to sort of maneuver and figure things out as we go, and we're just looking forward to the future now, and, you know, kind of getting this past us. So.
You have a specialty, right, in terms of the type of beer that you produce and share with the community and your customer base?
Yeah. So everything that we do here is a riff off of traditional farmhouse brewing. So we mainly are known for our sour beers, but we do produce a little bit of everything: IPAs, dark beers, clean saisons, wild saisons, all of that kind of stuff down here. And what we kind of try to do is we try to connect traditional brewing methods with, modern styles and stuff that's popular today, to kind of give that link to the past, for people who might not be aware of old brewing styles and all that kind of stuff,
So real briefly, what is a sour beer?
So a sour beer is exactly what it sounds like. It's a beer that is tart in flavor. For us, we heavily fruit most of our sour beers, besides just a couple of them that we leave unfruited. But it's basically a beer that's naturally soured via inoculation with lactic acid producing bacteria. A lot of the time, we'll add wild yeast and stuff like that to those beers as well to make it a wild beer. And occasionally we'll leave the tanks open to kind of gather some naturally occurring microbes here from Muskegon to sort of give it a little bit of our terroir, I guess if you'd say that. But really at the end of the day, it just comes down to sort of a hands-off brewing style, and sort of letting nature do its thing and all that, that kind of fun stuff. So.
Very good. We'll have sort of a general conversation here with a couple of questions before we open it up to questions from our club. I believe that we have become a craft beverage center. How and why has that happened? Why don't we start with Joel? I think you were well at the beginning of this process. What has been unique about this progression of this industry in Muskegon County?
Well, we were kind of known as the beer tent capital of the world for a while. You see a whole lot of beer tents around anymore like we used to, because we throw a lot of festivals and parties and stuff downtown. So a lot of that kind of drives a lot of craft beverage sales.
Thoughts on that, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been a town that likes to have a good time. My view of it goes back to when Unruly and Pigeon Hill opened within a few months of each other. I tell this story to a number of people. It was that moment when I realized downtown was turning a corner. I remember walking from Unruly to Pigeon Hill, and I passed somebody on Western, and I remember thinking what a foreign thought it was to watch somebody traveling up and down Western Avenue, and it had only taken off from there. I think that Muskegon was ripe to become a craft beverage community. We've always been a welcoming community, and we were in the position and ready for transition into something else. And that craft wave was happening at that time. Behind the scenes, there's such a sense of community in that. I mean, it's not only what us as business owners do and talk about here in Muskegon, like the state in general in that sector is really supportive of taking home brewers and guys who did it at their house and helping them turn pro. And that's what made me fall in love with it. I just happened to go on the distilling side, which distilling 2/3 of it's brewing. We're making essentially a beer up front, and the process change for us is that we're just extracting the alcohol off from that. So there's a lot of craft in that, and really the distilling industry is about 7 to 10 years behind where craft beer is. So the distilling industry is kind of this next wave of what craft looks like with craft cocktails and spirits coming on board. But it's been very well received here in Muskegon, and having 3 breweries in the city of Muskegon and 3 distilleries in the city of Muskegon is great for tourism. I'm sure Josh and Joel can say the same thing. We have people come in almost daily that are taking a weekend trip to go search out breweries and distilleries. And when you have like an epicenter of a bunch of them close to each other, it makes that a prime target to go, let's go to Muskegon for the weekend and visit a bunch of places that are there. And it's cool that we're all on the same page to show off Muskegon in that realm. We all know every day when a customer walks in the door, not only we're here to like represent our business, but we also know we can leave some really good impressions of Muskegon in general. So like our bartenders are telling stories of like where to go, other places to hit, the other breweries, what beers to try, what food to go try. Like we're ambassadors of the city every day. It's a task we're glad to have.
Josh, you said that you've worked in other communities besides your hometown in this industry. What's what makes Muskegon unique in terms of craft beverage?
I think what makes it unique right now at this moment is the choice that you have here. Like exactly what Alan said, is having the opportunity to go to 3 different breweries and 3 different distilleries, and even including the other couple breweries up in Whitehall, Montague. It makes it a real prime destination. And just like Alan said, we have people every week, multiple times a day, that will come in and say that they're here just to go to a bunch of different places. And I think that makes it really unique, and it makes it a target. It makes it a place where you can go and have 6 different craft beverage experiences in one town, and kind of get the different flavor at each place. And I think that each space here in Muskegon really truly represents a different part of Muskegon. And so I think that just our diversity and what we have to offer here really makes Muskegon unique and something that people will seek out.
I'll let you continue. I know that you put your business together really as COVID was starting to come on, and you opened up at, some would say, maybe an unfortunate time. How's that been for the Rake Beer Project in terms of where you're at now that we are coming out on the reset of the COVID year 2020?
It's definitely not what we anticipated. I don't think it's anything that we would ever have asked for or wanted, and I don't think anybody else here would say that either. But I think at the end of the day, we've come out of this. I'm a young business owner, and we're a young company, and we've come out of it learning a lot about ourselves and who we want to be as a company, and kind of what direction we want to go in, and all that kind of stuff. And so sort of COVID and having to really, really dig down and figure out what we have to do to get through that forced us to sort of figure out who we want to be. And it forced us to get really lean right off the bat, and so like I said, it's not something I would recommend or ask for again, but at the end of the day, we always try to look, on the positive side. And for us here, we say, had COVID not happened, there's a lot of things we would not have figured out right off the bat of opening this business. And so going forward, we think we're better off for it. Now, there's definitely a lot of things that sucked about it, but we're trying to look at the positive of it, so.
Alan or Joel, any quick COVID stories from the last year? I know, Alan, you were into hand sanitizer real early in that process.
Yeah. The hand sanitizer was actually the first product we ever sold. So, you have these grand ambitions of we're going to open a distillery, we're going to make whiskey, we're going to do all these really wonderful things. And then you find yourself in March standing in the parking lot of your production facility with your wife, like handing out jugs of hand sanitizer to police officers and firefighters. And as Josh was saying, you learn a lot about yourself and how dynamic your company is very quickly. Within a 72-hour period, we had to pivot our entire business model. We retooled. We had to find new supply chains for vessels, chemicals, all of this stuff to become a medical company almost overnight. And as quickly as it came, it left as well. We, as soon as they opened everything back up in May, we were selling about 1,500 gallons of hand sanitizer a week. And the next week we sold 20 gallons. It's like nobody wanted to buy it. As soon as you could go back out, it was gone. It was a very strange thing to see happen. But we learned a lot. We moved back into building out our production facility, and then we opened our cocktail bar in October, and then we had to close that down 30 days later in November, and we sat empty for 75 days, and then finally kind of opened back up February 1st. So we're doing good. We're rebuilding. We're putting all the things back in we couldn't do during COVID just because we had to get done and built out. But we're excited to finally get back to whatever sense of normalcy is around here. So.
All right, we'll sum up here and open up for some questions. And there was one question in the chat that I'll add to this final question. We'll let Joel start off. What is the future of the craft industry? Has it been oversaturated? Is there room for more? And especially the specific question was, how do you guys deal with shelf space on places like Meijer or other major retailers to try to get your beverages out? Joel?
I don't really think it's oversaturated at this point. I think the more players come in, the higher the benchmark is for quality. So if you come into this business with poor quality, poor controls, and poor business model, I mean, you're not going to last too long. I think when the craft brewer movement was really experienced double-digit growth, you could, open up a brewery not really knowing what you're doing and how to run a business, and you could survive for a while, and people didn't really know the difference. Now consumers are a lot more educated as time has gone on, and I think that's a very important thing. So as far as where we're going, I think it's just based on that quality thing again, innovation and quality. Oop, my lights just turned off. Building codes. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. It's just innovation and quality. That's kind of where we're going. And then for shelf space, that all ties into that too. I mean, Meijer and any retailer, they're going to look at turn rates on your beverages or on your products. And if it's not turning fast enough for them, then, you'll get bumped out of the way.
Josh, what's the future look like for a younger company like Rake?
The future for us looks a lot like the last year did for us, besides, of course, the taproom sales. And so for us, we're going to kind of keep going along with what we did. So we're packaging everything that we make here, not a lot, but we're packing just enough to have available in our tap room. And then we're looking at getting into some small self-distribution as well. But for us, it's just kind of expanding upon what we've been doing for the last year and a half. Our growth is going to look more like satellite locations than it will look like distribution. And so, yeah, just kind of continuing what we've been doing and really honing in on our style and, and who we are as a company.
Final, in terms of community engagement from your industry, I'll let Alan talk a little bit about Burning Foot, and we'll go on to any other questions that you may have.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm sure some of you have seen Burning Foot is back on. We are scrambling is probably an accurate word. We had delayed really developing and planning Burning Foot until we knew things would open back up. And now that happened, we are trying to put all those pieces together quickly, and it's coming together fine. We have a pretty good roadmap for what it'll look like. But community engagement's huge. Our demographics, we usually have guests coming in from 23 to 30 different states in a number of different countries, Canada. We get some from Australia and the Netherlands that'll come in as well. We're excited to highlight Muskegon, the great beach we have, and about 80 different breweries will be attending this year as well.
The date and times of that event?
It'll be August 28th this year. To run 3 to 9:30 like it normally does. We're going to run a very similar format to what we've had in years past.
Very good. Any other questions? I'll toss it over to President Mark if you just want to open up to the floor, or there was one in the chat area that was asking, I think, Rake about using Josh, local honey, and is there other products like that you've put into your product?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like Wonderland and Pigeon Hill do, we try to source local as often as possible. We're really lucky to have a relationship with one of our bartenders, Michaela, who actually runs her own urban farm in Muskegon Heights. And so she's able to provide us with small amounts of different herbs or whatever it might be to do small batch beers with. And so that's kind of where we get to do our, super hyper local sourcing from. And then, beyond that, we always are trying to source local whenever possible, so.
Any other Rotarians with questions, just unmute and fire away.
There was one in there from REM about the use of water and waste management in the industry.
Yeah, I was mostly asking about infrastructure and how important that is to your industry, particularly in water management and waste management.
Anyone of you want to take that on? Go ahead.
I can take a crack at it. Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate in Muskegon County. We have pretty good infrastructure built up from some of the industries that we had on the lake. I wouldn't say that Pigeon Hill's quite to the size yet where we got to worry about wastewater management like somebody like Founders does in Grand Rapids. But, you know, we're fortunate to have the infrastructure that we have. We got a lot of capacity for wastewater and a lot of fresh water around us. That makes it nice quality water. And it's a big part of the ingredient in beer. And yeah, it really makes some good beer.
Both from a distillery and from a brewery, you guys are using local water that we drink every day. Is that the basis for where you start out with your product?
Yeah. I mean, water's life for us. As we proof down the whiskey to get it to the ideal proof we want in the bottle, we're always using local water. We run it through a treatment system. We run it through our RO, which is a reverse osmosis. It really cleans up anything that's just kind of in the city water that's there before we're putting it into a bottle or into a tank. So yeah, great water and like Joel was saying, infrastructure is key for us.
All right, I think we are approaching the 1 o'clock hour. President Mark, we will be passing it back to you, but I would like our Rotarians to first off acknowledge our panelists today, but more importantly, go out and find Rake Beer Project at 794 Pine. You'll find the Wonderland Distilling in Lakeside and Lakeshore Drive. And you'll find Pigeon Hill in two places, downtown, both on Western Avenue and in their production facility across from the arena. So thank you guys for joining us today.
All right, let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much, Alan, Joel, and Josh. We appreciate what you do for the community. I think the craft industry really improves the quality of life in a community, and you're also making me really thirsty for an IPA after work. So what a great program, and good luck to you in the future with your businesses. Just one announcement I want to make. The board is working with the Delta to come to a new agreement on in-person meetings, and we're hopeful to have our first in-person meeting on June 24th. So we have to formally approve an agreement with them yet, but look for a sign-up genius, because they are going to require 7 days advance notice and a head count for the in-person meetings. I'll note we are going to, the plan is to make those hybrid meetings. So if you can't make it or you're not comfortable meeting in person, we're going to Zoom those meetings as well. So anyway, look forward to that. Maybe I will get one in-person meeting during my tenure. We'll see, but as president, so we'll see. Next week's program is Saga, Sexuality and Gender Advocates with Felipe Trevino. So look forward to that. Want to thank our guests, Chip and Maggie, who will be members very soon, for joining us today. Thanks so much. And with that, let's recite the four-way test before we adjourn. Of the things we think,
say, and do.
Is it the
truth?
The truth. Is it fair to all concerned?
Will
it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be
Be beneficial to all concerned?
You know, I'm looking forward to doing that in person too. It sounds
President Mark, do we have a breakout room for anyone that